Hi, it's Alaska Granny. Today I wanted to share with you some ideas of cheap and easy things that you might want to continue to stockpile. Pick a few up at a time when you're going to the store. They're items that could be very useful, even vital to your survival and just your enjoyment of life in general. And they're items that you can pick up at nearly any store that can help keep life running smoothly. Let's go over these items that I think are vital and see if they're items that you want to add into your prepping stockpile as well. Ziploc bags. They come in all sizes, different price points. You can buy them from a small box, small sizes, to a jumbo box of large ones. I like to have a variety of them on hand. One of the tricks that I do to make sure that they don't take up too much space in my stockpile is that I'll take two boxes, open them up, and stuff both boxes into one, because then I have twice as many in half the amount of space. If water stops running, doesn't mean you don't need to eat anymore. How about stocking up on paper plates and paper bowls? The bowls can be harder to find. You also want to have some plastic utensils, which I put those in the dishwasher and reuse them. I've never had a problem with that. I know some people think you just throw them away, but you don't have to. You don't have to be wasteful. You can if you don't have access to running water, but you can continue to make the most out of your prepping dollars, you save those pennies, and still have the items that you need to keep life running smoothly. Something super cheap and easy: when you purchase items that are in a jar, wash the jar well, run it through the dishwasher a few times. Even stick the lids out in the sunshine to get rid of some of the odor. Soak them in some baking soda and water. And then you have a container, an airtight container, that you can store more food. You can put your dried foods in these, everything from beans and rice, pasta, oatmeal. There's all kinds of dried foods that fit into these jars. And something I was thinking of, the smaller jars, that might be perfect to put some small amounts of rice and beans to go into your meals in a bag. Maybe you've seen some of my videos on how I assemble emergency meals, that you can put all of the ingredients in a Ziploc bag. Then if you want to cook something, you just pull it off the shelf and prepare it. But these would also be great in a big emergency. If people came around and they wanted something, you could give them a small jar of rice or beans or oatmeal and say, sorry, that's all I have. I have like 2 of them and I'm willing to give you 1. We might want to share a little bit, and then we have something. We could still use it if we needed to, but if you really wanted to give something away, then you'd have a small amount. You wouldn't have to let them see you open your 5-gallon bucket full of rice and beans. You already have a little container you could let them have. Something you might want to do is, when you're in the store, just pick up 1 extra can of food that's a meal in a can. Something you can open and eat. It's already prepared. You just heat it up. And if you couldn't heat it up, you could still eat it. The foods that are already like a full meal. You want to get something like soup, ravioli, a flavorful baked bean, beef stew. There's all kinds of these meals in a can that you could, even if you just bought 1 can per trip to the store, that's 1 extra meal that you have provided in your emergency stockpile. You can also look for the foods that are pouch meals, or even something as simple as chicken salad with crackers. Look for some of those. That's just an extra meal that then you have. If you just buy 1 extra already prepared meal, you're going to be way ahead in hard times. What are some other items that you could add to your stockpile? How about clean socks? Pick up a few extra pairs of clean socks. Look over the members of your family. What sizes do they need? What style of socks do they like? Do you need socks that are low cut for summer, high cut for winter to keep more of your leg warm? Figure out what's going to meet your family's needs and stock up on some of those. And let's not forget gloves. Keep some in your car, keep some in your bug out bag, keep some even with your gardening tools, wherever you might want to use your gloves, so that you can protect your hands and then you're not worried about doing hard work. They can also protect you in the weather, but if you want just warm gloves for winter, pick up some of those too. But gardening type gloves, this is the time of year when you can find them, and so you might want to pick up a few extra pairs when you have an opportunity. Think about cushion insoles for your shoes. If you've ever had your shoes when you had to do more walking than normal and then your feet got sore, or it's cold outside, you can add these into your shoes because it gives a layer of insulation off of the cold pavement. In case you're not familiar, They're like a big foam pad, and it comes with a guide that you figure out what is the size of your foot, and then you would cut these to fit your shoes. But when you're cutting them, just like when you're sewing something, you want to put the right sides together and cut them as a pair so that then you have two different feet. And because there's one side that's up and one side. So look at the surface and make sure you're having them the right sides together, just like when you're sewing. So when you cut them out and you separate them, you have two different shoes, a right and a left. You don't end up with two at the same. Well, you could turn it over, but the surface is different in them, and you want to make sure that you're keeping track of that when you cut these out. A lot of times these shoe cushion insoles will come two pairs in a pack so that you have one to use and then you have an extra one for next time or another pair of shoes. Think about first aid. Do you have a lot of BandAids, gauze, pads, tape, all those different items? I did the same with this, and I was talking about the Ziploc bags. Is I bought two of these jumbo boxes of BandAids and I crammed them all into one box. Now they're going to take up one box worth of space on my shelf rather than two boxes, and I have plenty of BandAids for any kind of an emergency. Look for different kinds of over-the-counter medicines, pain relievers, fever reducers, muscle pain relaxers. There's different kinds. You can buy them in gigantic bottles, but if money is tight, that could be a lot. It's better to pick up a few of these at a time so that you have something. You'd much rather have something in your emergency gear than nothing, wouldn't you? Then think about different kind of kits, wound care kits, dental repair kits. You can even find small first aid kits. This one had a wrapper, but it doesn't have a label on the package. But you can see it's a small compact first aid kit, and it has all kinds of bandages, gauze pads, some alcohol prep pads. There's different things in here, and there's even room to add a little more, but not very much because it's so flat. If you get some of them that are a larger size like this one, there's going to be room in the package that you could add even more supplies, even add some first aid creams, things like that that you might want in your wound care kit. Why might you want to pick up a little coin purse? Well, we know that in emergencies, one of the things that we need the most can end up being cash. You can stash some cash and have it for emergencies. These are also great if you want to make a first aid kit in a little coin purse, if you want to make an emergency fishing kit, if you want to make all kinds of emergency things, you could make little kits in these little pouches. And it doesn't seem like you're a prepper if you just have a nice little pouch in your purse, your bag, your pocket, your gym bag, and you can have a lot of supplies, and it's kind of stealth mode because nobody thinks this is your emergency gear. Maybe you have a pocket knife, a little flashlight. Think of all the possibilities. Another cheap must-have item is candles. You can get them as tea candles. You can get long tapered candles. You can choose the big religious candles in a jar that can burn for many, many hours. There are different possibilities, different reasons why we might want different types of candles, but you need to have some. You can even make an emergency candle kit. You can drop some candles into one of those jars, add some matches or a lighter, and then you have an emergency lighting kit. Plus you can use the jar to hold the lit candle so that it keeps it contained. Having a lighter or some matches, or my favorite are the long utility lighters, allows you to light campfires, barbecues, burn barrels, fireplaces, camp stoves, and your candles, of course. There's all types of reasons why you want to have matches and lighters. So those are my ideas today on cheap must-have items, prepping items that you want to have in your stockpile, and you might want to be picking them up a few at a time as you have the opportunity. Leave it in the comments below. What items do you suggest that we also buy and stockpile, add to our prepping supplies, and our self-reliance kit, that we learn we can do it because we have a wide variety of items. The more things we have, the more ways we figure out how to use those items, the better prepared we are. And that gives a lot of comfort in my life, and I hope that it brings that to you as well. I hope you'll like my video, share it with someone you think might like it, and please subscribe to the Alaska Granny channel.